The scorching Kansas sun beat down mercilessly on the dusty streets of Dodge City as Sam Everett rode his weathered stallion toward his modest cabin on the town's outskirts. The year was 1886, and the frontier town buzzed with the usual chaos of cattle drives, gambling halls, and desperate souls seeking fortune or redemption. "Hi, how are you? Sorry to interrupt your story, but what I'm going to ask you is really quick, and it will really help the channel to grow and create new stories. Just click below the video image to subscribe. You'll be doing an act of kindness and encouragement to those who are just starting out. Thank you very much, and continue with your story." Sam was known throughout Dodge City simply as the Loner, a man who kept to himself, spoke little, and carried the weight of unspoken tragedies in his steel-grey eyes. At 43, his face bore the lines of a hard life, and his reputation as a skilled gunslinger preceded him wherever he went. Yet for the past 2 years, he had deliberately avoided trouble, choosing solitude over the violence that once defined him. As he approached his cabin, something felt wrong. His horse, Thunder, snorted nervously, sensing the same unease that prickled at Sam's instincts. There, slumped against his wooden door, was a figure that made his blood run cold. A woman, barely alive, clutched a small bundle to her chest. Her dress was torn and blood-stained, her face pale as winter snow. Dark hair matted with sweat-framed features that might have been beautiful under different circumstances. But it was her eyes that struck Sam most, wild with desperation and fading fast. "Please," she whispered, as Sam dismounted and rushed to her side. "Please, you have to help him." Sam knelt beside her, his rough hands surprisingly gentle as he assessed her condition. Multiple gunshot wounds, too much blood loss. She wouldn't last much longer. "Ma'am, let me get you to Doc Henderson." "He can—" "No time!" she gasped, pressing the bundle into his arms. As the cloth fell away, Sam found himself staring into the frightened eyes of a boy, no more than 6 years old. The child's dark hair and serious expression reminded Sam of someone, though he couldn't place who. "The son is yours," the woman declared with her remaining strength, her fingers gripping Sam's shirt with surprising force. "His name is Eli Turner. Promise me. Promise you'll protect him." Sam's world tilted. "Ma'am, I think you've got the wrong man. I don't have any—" "Samuel Everett," she interrupted, her voice barely audible now. "The Loner of Dodge City. I know who you are, and I know what you did in Abilene 7 years ago." The mention of Abilene hit Sam like a physical blow. That was a chapter of his life he'd buried deep, along with the woman he'd loved and lost. His hands trembled as he looked down at the boy, Eli, who stared back with eyes that seemed far too old for his young face. "Who are you?" Sam demanded, but the woman's breathing had become labored. With her final breath, she pressed something into Sam's palm, a silver locket, tarnished with age. "They're coming for him," she whispered. Don't let them take him to Victor Blackwood." The name sent ice through Sam's veins. Victor Blackwood, the ruthless cattle baron who controlled half of Kansas through fear and corruption. What could he possibly want with a child? As the woman's eyes closed forever, Sam heard the thunder of approaching hooves. 3 riders emerged from the dust cloud, their faces hard and their intentions clear. The leader, a scarred man with cold blue eyes, dismounted with predatory grace. Well, the man drawled, his hand resting on his gun. "Looks like we're too late to stop Clara from talking. Name's Jake Morrison, and I'm here for the boy." Sam instinctively pulled Eli closer, the child's small body trembling against his chest. "The boy stays with me." Morrison laughed, a sound devoid of humor. "You don't understand, Everett. That child belongs to Mr. Blackwood. Hand him over, and we'll pretend this never happened." "Over my dead body." "That can be arranged," Morrison replied, his companions flanking him with practiced ease. The standoff stretched taut as a bowstring. Sam's mind raced, calculating angles and odds. 3 against 1, with a child to protect. Not impossible, but far from ideal. Just as Morrison's hand moved toward his weapon, a new voice cut through the tension. "Gentlemen, is there a problem here?" Deputy Marshal Jack Hayes emerged from behind Sam's cabin, his badge glinting in the afternoon sun. A man in his 30s with honest brown eyes and a steady demeanor, Jack had been one of the few people in Dodge City who'd shown Sam genuine friendship. Morrison's expression soured. "Official business, Deputy, nothing that concerns the law. When it involves drawn weapons in my jurisdiction, it concerns me plenty," Jack replied calmly, though his hand rested casually on his own gun. "Sam, you need any assistance?" Before Sam could respond, another figure appeared, Ruby Malone, the flame-haired singer from the Silver Dollar Saloon. Her emerald dress was elegant despite the dust, and her green eyes sparkled with intelligence and barely contained fire. My, Ruby said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Quite the gathering we have here. Jake Morrison, isn't it? I heard Mr. Blackwood's been looking for something. Or should I say someone?" Morrison's jaw tightened. "This doesn't concern you, woman." "Everything in this town concerns me, sugar," Ruby replied sweetly, though her tone carried steel. "Especially when it involves children and dead women on my friend's doorstep." The standoff continued, but Sam could see Morrison calculating the odds. 3 against 3 now, with a lawman involved, not the easy snatch-and-grab he'd planned. "This isn't over, Everett," Morrison finally said, mounting his horse. "Mr. Blackwood doesn't give up easy. The boy will be his, one way or another." As the 3 riders disappeared into the dust, Sam looked down at Eli, who hadn't spoken a word throughout the entire confrontation. The child's dark eyes held secrets that no 6-year-old should carry. "Sam," Jack said quietly, "what's this really about?" Sam opened the locket with trembling fingers. Inside was a photograph that made his heart stop, a young woman with kind eyes and a gentle smile, a woman he'd known 7 years ago in Abilene, a woman named Margaret Turner, who disappeared without a trace after telling him she was carrying his child. "Dear Lord," he whispered, staring at Eli with new understanding. The resemblance was there, in the shape of his eyes, the stubborn set of his jaw. Ruby moved closer, her voice soft with concern. "Sam, what is it?" He showed her the photograph, his voice hoarse with emotion. I think this might actually be my son." The implications hit them all like a thunderbolt. If Eli was truly Sam's child, then Clara Turner had been Margaret's sister, and she died protecting his nephew. But why had Margaret never told him? And what did Victor Blackwood want with the boy? As the sun began to set over Dodge City, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson, Sam made a decision that would change everything. He looked at Jack and Ruby, the only 2 people in town he trusted completely. "I need your help," he said simply. "This child is under my protection now, and I won't let Blackwood or anyone else harm him." Jack nodded without hesitation. "You've got it." Ruby's smile was fierce and determined. "Honey, you just try and stop me." As they prepared to enter Sam's cabin, Eli finally spoke, his voice small but clear. "Are you really my papa?" Sam knelt down to meet the boy's eyes, seeing Margaret's gentle spirit reflected there. "I don't know yet, son, but I promise you this, I'll keep you safe while we figure it out." The child nodded solemnly, then surprised Sam by reaching out and taking his hand. In that moment, blood relation or not, Sam felt something he hadn't experienced in years: purpose. But as they stepped inside the cabin, none of them noticed the figure watching from the shadows, or the glint of metal as a rifle scope tracked their movements. The game was just beginning, and Victor Blackwood played to win. The first chapter of their dangerous journey had ended, but the real mystery was only starting to unfold. Who was Eli Turner, really? What secrets had died with Clara? And why was the most powerful man in Kansas willing to kill for a 6-year-old boy? The answers would come, but not without a price that would test them all. Dawn broke gray and ominous over Dodge City, casting long shadows across the dusty streets. Sam had barely slept, his mind churning with questions, and his ears alert for any sound of approaching danger. Eli had curled up on Sam's old cot, finally succumbing to exhaustion after hours of silent vigilance. The boy was an enigma, too quiet, too watchful for a child his age. When he did speak, it was with a maturity that unsettled Sam. There were layers to this child, secrets buried beneath his innocent exterior. A soft knock at the door made Sam's hand instinctively move to his gun, but the voice that followed was familiar and welcome. "Sam, it's Ruby. I brought breakfast." Sam opened the door to find Ruby balancing a tray of food and coffee, her usual saloon attire replaced by a practical riding dress. Behind her stood Jack, his expression grim. "We need to talk," Jack said quietly, glancing toward the sleeping child. "I've been asking questions around town and what I found isn't good." They moved to Sam's small kitchen table, speaking in hushed tones while Eli slept. Ruby set down plates of eggs and bacon, but none of them seemed interested in eating. "Victor Blackwood arrived in town last night," Jack began. "He's staying at the Grand Hotel with a dozen armed men. Word is, he's offering $1,000 for information about the boy." Sam's jaw tightened. $1,000 was more money than most people in Dodge City saw in a year. It would be enough to turn friends into enemies overnight. "There's more," Ruby added, her voice troubled. "I did some digging of my own. Clara Turner wasn't just any woman. She was Margaret Turner's sister, all right. But Margaret didn't just disappear from Abilene 7 years ago, Sam. She was murdered." The words hit Sam like a physical blow. "Murdered? By who?" "That's where it gets interesting," Ruby continued. "According to my sources, Margaret was working as a schoolteacher in Abilene when she got involved with a certain cowboy." She gave Sam a meaningful look. "But she was also investigating some irregularities in the town's land records, irregularities that pointed to massive fraud." Jack leaned forward. "Let me guess, fraud involving Victor Blackwood." "His name was all over the documents Margaret was collecting," Ruby confirmed. "She was building a case against him when she disappeared. The official story was that she ran off with a traveling salesman, but Clara never believed it." Sam felt the pieces of a terrible puzzle beginning to form. "So Clara's been hiding Eli all these years, protecting him from Blackwood. But why? What makes the boy so important?" Before anyone could answer, a small voice spoke from the doorway. "Because I know where Mama hid the papers." They all turned to see Eli standing there, his dark eyes serious and far too knowing. The child had been awake, listening to every word. Sam knelt down to Eli's level. "What papers, son?" "The ones that prove the bad man stole the land," Eli replied matter-of-factly. "Mama told me before she died. She said if anything happened to Aunt Clara, I should tell you where they are." Ruby exchanged glances with Jack and Sam. "Your mama was Margaret Turner." Eli nodded. "She said my papa was a good man who would protect me if I ever needed help. She described you," he looked at Sam, "and told me your name." Sam's heart clenched. Margaret had known she was in danger, had prepared for the worst. "Where are these papers, Eli?" "In the old church in Abilene. Mama hid them under the loose floorboard behind the altar. She made me memorize exactly where." The implications were staggering. If Margaret had gathered evidence of Blackwood's land fraud, and if that evidence still existed, it would be enough to destroy the cattle baron's empire. No wonder he wanted Eli silenced. "We have to get those papers," Sam said, standing. "It's the only way to stop Blackwood permanently." "It's a trap," Jack warned. "He'll be expecting us to go to Abilene. The place will be crawling with his men. Then we'll have to be smarter than them," Ruby said with determination. "I have an idea, but it's risky." Before she could elaborate, the sound of approaching horses filled the air. Sam moved to the window and cursed under his breath. A dozen riders surrounded his cabin, with Victor Blackwood himself at their head. The cattle baron was an imposing figure, tall, silver-haired, and impeccably dressed despite the frontier setting. His cold blue eyes and cruel smile spoke of a man accustomed to getting his way through fear and violence. "Samuel Everett," Blackwood's voice carried easily through the morning air, "I believe you have something that belongs to me. Send out the boy. and no one gets hurt. Sam checked his weapons, while Jack positioned himself at the back window and Ruby gathered Eli protectively in her arms. "I don't see any ownership papers, Blackwood," Sam called back. "The boy stays with me." Blackwood's laugh was like ice cracking. "You always were stubborn, Everett. Very well. We'll do this the hard way." The first shot shattered Sam's front window, sending glass flying. Sam returned fire immediately, his bullet finding its mark in one of Blackwood's men. The battle was joined. "There's a root cellar behind the cabin," Sam shouted over the gunfire. "Ruby, get Eli down there and keep him safe." "I'm not leaving you to face this alone," Ruby protested. "Go," Sam ordered. "Jack and I can handle this, but only if we know Eli's protected." Reluctantly, Ruby guided the boy toward the back of the cabin, but as they reached the cellar door, Eli pulled away from her. "Wait," he said urgently. "There's something else. Something Aunt Clara told me before she died." "What is it, honey?" Ruby asked, even as bullets whined overhead. "She said there's a man in Dodge City who's been helping the bad man, someone we trust. She said to be careful who we tell our secrets to." Ruby's blood ran cold, a traitor in their midst. But who? Jack had been Sam's friend for years, but appearances could be deceiving. Even she herself could be suspect in the boy's eyes. The gunfight intensified, with Sam and Jack holding their own against superior numbers. But Sam knew they couldn't last forever. Blackwood's men were professionals, and they had the cabin surrounded. That's when Ruby's plan crystallized. "Eli, I need you to trust me. Can you do that?" The boy nodded solemnly. "Good. We're going to create a diversion, but I need you to be very brave." Ruby quickly explained her idea to Sam and Jack during a lull in the shooting. It was dangerous, but it might be their only chance. "On my signal," Sam called out, "we make our move." Ruby emerged from the cabin's back door, her hands raised in apparent surrender. "Mr. Blackwood, I want to make a deal." The shooting stopped as Blackwood rode closer, his expression curious. "Miss Malone, isn't it? What kind of deal?" "The boy for safe passage out of town," Ruby called back. "Sam's willing to trade." Sam appeared in the doorway, seemingly defeated, with Eli beside him. But those watching closely might have noticed that the boy was actually a bundle of clothes wrapped around a pillow, while the real Eli was hidden beneath the cabin. "Smart man," Blackwood said with satisfaction. "Bring him out." As Sam walked forward with the decoy, Jack slipped out the back and made his way toward the horses. The plan was simple: create enough confusion for them to escape and regroup. But as Sam reached the halfway point, one of Blackwood's men grew suspicious. "Boss, something ain't right. That boy ain't moved or made a sound." Blackwood's eyes narrowed. "Check him." The deception was exposed in seconds, and Blackwood's rage was terrible to behold. "You think you can play games with me, Everett? Kill them all." The renewed gunfight was fierce and desperate. Sam dove for cover as bullets flew, while Jack emerged from behind the cabin with guns blazing. Ruby had produced a small derringer from her dress and was proving surprisingly accurate with it. In the chaos, no one noticed the small figure slipping away from the cabin, moving with the stealth that only a frightened child could manage. Eli had his own plan, one that would change everything. As the battle raged, the boy made his way toward town, carrying with him the most dangerous secret of all, not just the location of his mother's evidence, but the identity of the traitor who had been feeding information to Blackwood. The second chapter was ending with more questions than answers. Who was the spy in their midst? Would Sam and his friends survive Blackwood's assault? And what would happen when a 6-year-old boy decided to take matters into his own hands? The truth was about to become more dangerous than anyone imagined, and the real test of loyalty was just beginning. The gunfight at Sam's cabin had ended in a stalemate. Blackwood's men had retreated after taking heavy casualties, but not before burning the modest home to the ground. Sam, Jack, and Ruby had managed to escape to the abandoned Miller Ranch on the outskirts of town, but their relief was short-lived when they discovered that Eli was missing. "He can't have gone far," Jack said, checking his rifle for the third time in 10 minutes. A 6-year-old boy on foot in this heat. You don't know Eli, Sam replied grimly, pacing the dusty floor of the old ranch house. That boy's got more sense than most grown men. If he ran, he had a reason. Ruby sat by the window, her green eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of pursuit. Maybe he overheard something that spooked him. Remember what he said about there being a traitor among us? The words hung heavy in the air. Each of them glanced at the others, suspicion creeping in despite their shared ordeal. Trust was a luxury they could no longer afford. Meanwhile, in Dodge City, Eli Turner was proving that his survival instincts were indeed remarkable for a child his age. He had made his way to the Silver Dollar Saloon through back alleys and shadows, avoiding the patrols of Blackwood's men who were searching every building in town. The saloon was nearly empty in the afternoon heat, with only a few regulars nursing warm beer and the bartender, Pete, wiping down glasses with mechanical precision. Eli slipped in through the back entrance, his small size allowing him to move unnoticed. But someone had noticed. From a corner table, a figure rose and approached the boy with a friendly smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Well, hello there, young man. You're Eli, aren't you? I'm a friend of Sam's." Eli looked up at the man with those two old eyes, studying him carefully. "I know who you are, Deputy Hayes." Jack Hayes, but this wasn't the Jack who'd been fighting alongside Sam. This was a different man entirely, one who had slipped away from the ranch house while the others weren't watching. "That's right," Jack said, kneeling down to Eli's level. "I've been looking everywhere for you. Sam's worried sick." "No, he's not," Eli replied calmly, "because you're not going back to tell him you found me." Jack's friendly facade slipped slightly. "What makes you say that?" "Because you're the one who told the bad man where to find us. Aunt Clara saw you talking to Mr. Blackwood's men 3 days ago. She told me to watch out for the lawman with the scar on his left hand." Instinctively, Jack glanced down at his left hand, where a jagged scar ran from his wrist to his knuckles, a souvenir from a knife fight years earlier. It was a detail only someone who'd been watching him closely would notice. "You're a smart boy," Jack said, his voice losing all pretense of warmth. "Too smart for your own good." "Smart enough to know you've been lying to Sam for a long time," Eli replied. "Smart enough to know you're the reason my mama died." The accusation hit Jack like a physical blow. "Your mother's death was an accident. Blackwood only wanted the papers she'd stolen. She didn't have to fight. She fought because she knew what kind of man you really are," Eli said with devastating simplicity. "And now Sam's going to know too." Jack's hand moved toward his gun, but he hesitated. Killing a child in broad daylight, even in a nearly empty saloon, would raise questions he couldn't answer. Instead, he grabbed Eli's arm roughly. "You're coming with me, boy. Mr. Blackwood's been very patient, but his patience has limits." But Eli had one more surprise. As Jack dragged him toward the door, the boy let out a piercing whistle, a signal he'd arranged with someone earlier. Suddenly, the saloon wasn't as empty as it had appeared. From behind the bar, Pete straightened up, revealing himself to be much younger and more dangerous than he'd seemed. From the shadows near the stairs, 2 more figures emerged, Ruby's girls from the saloon, armed and ready. "Let the boy go, Jack," said the man behind the bar, who was clearly not Pete at all. "We know all about your arrangement with Blackwood." Jack found himself surrounded, his carefully constructed double life crumbling around him. "You don't understand. Blackwood owns this town. He owns the sheriff, half the businessmen and most of the politicians in Kansas. Fighting him is suicide." "Maybe," the fake Pete replied, "but some things are worth dying for." As Jack realized his situation was hopeless, his desperation made him dangerous. He drew his gun and pressed it to Eli's head, using the child as a human shield. "Nobody moves, or the boy dies," he shouted. "I'm walking out of here, and anyone who tries to stop me will have his blood on their hands." But Jack had underestimated Eli Turner once again. The boy had spent years learning to survive, and he'd picked up more than a few tricks from his Aunt Clara. As Jack backed toward the door, Eli suddenly went limp, becoming dead weight in the deputy's arms. Caught off balance, Jack stumbled, and in that instant of vulnerability, Eli bit down hard on the man's gun hand. Jack cried out in pain and surprise, his grip loosening just enough for the boy to break free. The fake Pete's gun barked once, and Jack Hayes crumpled to the floor, clutching his shoulder. The betrayer had been revealed and neutralized, but the cost of his treachery was only beginning to be understood. Back at the Miller Ranch, Sam and Ruby were growing increasingly frantic about Eli's disappearance when a rider approached under a white flag. It was one of Blackwood's men, but he carried a message rather than weapons. "Mr. Blackwood wants to parley," the man announced. "He's got something you want, and you've got something he wants. He's willing to make a trade." Sam's blood ran cold. "What's he got?" "The boy," the messenger replied, "and Deputy Hayes. Seems your friend had a change of heart about which side he was on." The implication was clear. Blackwood had Eli, and Jack had been revealed as a traitor, but Sam had learned to be suspicious of easy answers, especially when they came from Victor Blackwood. "Where does he want to meet?" Sam asked. "The old church in Abilene. Noon tomorrow. Come alone, and bring whatever evidence Margaret Turner gathered against him. He gets the papers, you get the boy." After the messenger left, Ruby turned to Sam with fire in her eyes. "It's obviously a trap. He'll kill you both the moment he has what he wants." "I know," Sam replied grimly. "But what choice do I have? That boy is my responsibility now. Maybe even my son. I can't abandon him." "Then we don't play by his rules," Ruby said with determination. "We make our own." As they planned their desperate gambit, neither of them knew that Eli was already free and making his own plans. The boy had learned the location of his mother's hidden evidence from the fake Pete, who was actually Thomas Garrett, a Pinkerton detective who'd been investigating Blackwood for months. The stage was set for a final confrontation in Abilene, where the truth about Margaret Turner's murder, Victor Blackwood's crimes, and Eli's true parentage would finally be revealed. But with betrayal and deception on all sides, who could be trusted when the shooting started? The third chapter had exposed the traitor in their midst, but it had also raised new questions. Who was Thomas Garrett really working for? How much did Eli actually know about his mother's death? And what would happen when Sam discovered that the boy he'd sworn to protect was walking into the same trap that had killed Margaret Turner 7 years earlier? The truth was more complex and dangerous than anyone had imagined, and the final chapter would test every alliance, every assumption, and every bond of loyalty that had been forged in the crucible of the frontier. The old church in Abilene stood like a weathered sentinel against the morning sky, its white paint peeling and its bell tower casting long shadows across the abandoned town square. Once, this had been a thriving community, but the railroad had passed it by, leaving only ghosts and memories. Sam Everett rode into town alone, as Blackwood had demanded, but he wasn't as isolated as he appeared. Ruby and Thomas Garrett, the Pinkerton detective who had been masquerading as a bartender, were positioned in strategic locations around the church, while a dozen other agents waited in the surrounding buildings. What none of them knew was that Eli Turner was already inside the church, having arrived before dawn to retrieve his mother's hidden evidence. The boy moved with purpose through the dusty interior, his small hands working to pry up the loose floorboard behind the altar that his mother had described to him years earlier. As the board came free, Eli's breath caught. There, wrapped in oiled cloth, was a leather satchel containing dozens of documents, photographs, and letters. His mother's careful handwriting covered page after page of evidence detailing Victor Blackwood's systematic theft of land throughout Kansas. But there was something else, a letter addressed to "My dearest Sam" in his mother's flowing script. With trembling fingers, Eli opened it and began to read the words that would change everything. Outside, Sam dismounted and approached the church, his hand resting on his gun but not drawing it. Blackwood emerged from the shadows with 6 armed men, his silver hair gleaming in the morning sun, and his cold smile promising violence. "Punctual as always, Everett," Blackwood said. "I do appreciate a man who keeps his word." "Where's the boy?" Sam demanded. "Safe and sound," Blackwood replied, "though I'm afraid Deputy Hayes won't be joining us. It seems he had an unfortunate accident while trying to renegotiate his compensation." Sam's jaw tightened. Whatever Jack's crimes, he'd once been a friend. The papers for the boy, that was the deal. Indeed it was. "But first, I think you should know the truth about your relationship with young Eli. You see, Margaret Turner was quite the romantic, but she was also quite the liar." Blackwood's words hit Sam like a physical blow. "What are you talking about?" "The boy isn't your son, Everett. Margaret was already pregnant when she met you in Abilene. The real father was my own son, Marcus, a foolish young man who thought he could reform a schoolteacher and make an honest woman of her." The revelation staggered Sam. If Eli wasn't his son, then everything he'd believed, everything he'd fought for. "You're lying," Sam said, but doubt crept into his voice. "Am I?" "Marcus died in a riding accident 6 months after the boy was born. Margaret knew I'd never acknowledge a bastard grandson, so she invented the story about you being the father. Quite clever, really." Inside the church, Eli had finished reading his mother's letter, tears streaming down his young face. The truth was more complex than anyone had imagined, and it would change the lives of everyone involved. "But here's the truly amusing part," Blackwood continued. "The boy you've been protecting, the child you've been willing to die for, is actually my own flesh and blood, my grandson. And I intend to raise him properly, away from the corrupting influence of gunfighters and saloon women." Sam's world tilted on its axis. If Eli was Blackwood's grandson, then the boy's life might actually be safe. The cattle baron wouldn't harm his own blood. But that also meant Sam had no legal claim to the child, no right to protect him. "The papers, Everett," Blackwood demanded. "Hand them over, and I'll allow you to ride away. Refuse, and I'll take them from your corpse." But before Sam could respond, a small voice called out from the church doorway. "He's lying, Sam, about everything." Eli emerged from the shadows, the leather satchel in his hands and his mother's letter clutched to his chest. His young face was streaked with tears, but his voice was steady and strong. "Mama wrote it all down," Eli continued, holding up the letter. "The truth about who my father really is, and why Mr. Blackwood killed her." Blackwood's composure cracked for the first time. "Boy, you don't know what you're talking about. Get over here this instant." "No," Eli said firmly. "I'm not your grandson. Marcus Blackwood was never my father. Mama only let you think that to protect me and Sam." The boy's words hung in the air like thunder. Sam stared at the child, hope and confusion warring in his chest. "Then who?" Sam began. "You are," Eli said simply. "You're my papa. Mama wrote it all in her letter. She was already carrying me when she left Abilene, but she never told you because she knew Mr. Blackwood would use me to hurt you." The truth hit Sam like a lightning bolt. Margaret had sacrificed her own happiness, had lived as a fugitive for years, all to protect both him and their son from Blackwood's vengeance. "She loved you," Eli continued, his voice breaking slightly. "She always loved you, but she knew that as long as Mr. Blackwood thought I was his grandson, he wouldn't kill me. She was wrong about that part." Blackwood's face had gone white with rage. "Impossible. Marcus told me himself that the child was his." "Marcus lied to you," Eli said with devastating simplicity. "Mama showed him the letter Sam wrote to her, and Marcus agreed to pretend I was his son to protect us. He was a good man, not like you. The revelation that his own son had deceived him, had died protecting the woman and child Blackwood had been hunting, broke something fundamental in the cattle baron's mind. His carefully constructed world of control and dominance crumbled around him. "Kill them," he snarled to his men. "Kill them all!" But as guns were drawn, Ruby and Thomas Garrett emerged from their hiding places, along with a dozen federal marshals. The Pinkerton investigation had been building a case against Blackwood for months, and Eli's evidence was the final piece they needed. Victor Blackwood, Garrett announced, his badge gleaming in the morning sun. "You're under arrest for murder, land fraud, and conspiracy." The gunfight that followed was brief but intense. Blackwood's men, outnumbered and outgunned, quickly surrendered. But Blackwood himself made one last desperate play, drawing his weapon and aiming it directly at Eli. "If I can't have the boy, no one can," he screamed. Sam moved faster than he ever had in his life, throwing himself between Blackwood and Eli just as the gun fired. The bullet caught him in the shoulder, spinning him around but not dropping him. Ruby's derringer barked once, and Victor Blackwood fell to the dusty ground. His reign of terror finally ended. As the smoke cleared, Sam found himself on his knees, clutching his wounded shoulder, but alive. Eli rushed to his side, the boy's small hands gentle as they examined the wound. "Are you okay, Papa?" Eli asked, and the word had never sounded sweeter. "I am now, son," Sam replied, pulling the boy close with his good arm. "I am now." In the days that followed, the truth came out in full. Margaret Turner's evidence exposed a conspiracy that reached into the highest levels of Kansas politics. Dozens of arrests were made, stolen lands were returned to their rightful owners, and the Turner name was cleared of all wrongdoing. Jack Hayes survived his wounds and was sentenced to prison for his role in the conspiracy, though his cooperation with the investigation earned him a reduced sentence. He would spend his remaining years trying to atone for his betrayal of the people who had trusted him. Ruby Malone used her share of the reward money to open a legitimate business, a hotel and restaurant that quickly became the finest establishment in Dodge City. She and Thomas Garrett discovered they had more in common than either had expected, and their friendship blossomed into something deeper. As for Sam and Eli, they built a new cabin on the outskirts of town, larger than the old one and filled with the laughter that had been missing from Sam's life for too long. The boy thrived under his father's care, growing strong and confident while never losing the wisdom that had kept him alive during the darkest days. On quiet evenings, Sam would tell Eli stories about his mother, about her courage, her intelligence, and her unwavering love for the son she'd protected with her life. And sometimes, when the Kansas wind whispered through the prairie grass, Sam could almost hear Margaret's voice telling him that their boy was exactly where he belonged. The lonely cowboy was lonely no more. He had found his son, his purpose, and his peace. And in the end, that was worth more than all the gold in the territory. The truth had set them all free, and the future stretched before them bright with possibility and hope. The end. Hello, how are you? Did you enjoy the story? Like, share, comment on which city you're watching from, and subscribe to the channel to help us continue adding new amazing videos. Thank you very much, and come back often.